So great friends of Team Salty, welcome once more to today's cast. Today we are going to majorly focus on a professional field and specifically on matters human resource and employability to be specific. And so today I'm joined by one person, a friend of mine who has a lot of experience in this field and specifically a human resource manager who is going to tell us more about all this. And welcome on board. Wilson, welcome to Team Salty Show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Who is Wilson?
Okay. Now, Wilson is a HR practitioner for almost 12 years. And I've worked in different fields. That is, I started with the agricultural sector. I've worked with the education sector. I've worked with the healthcare sector. That is a brief introduction of Wilson.
Mm-hmm. So apparently this is a field that you've also been working on the human resource department.
Oh yeah, most precisely.
Okay, so today people want to know whether they are employable or not, and they don't know how to gauge their employability. Tell us what is being employable and what should people look at. Just take it up, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, employability, I can define it as a capability of being employed and also retaining or performing the work that you've been employed. Because when you talk about employability, does not only end at recruitment or interview level or onboarding level, it also continues to the tenure that you'll be working with an employee or an employer. That is, you are now employed, you are onboarded, you've completed your probation period, now you are employable.
Okay.
That is now employability in a summary.
Mm-hmm. So how do I tell that I am employable?
Okay, now for you to know that you are employable, number one, you have to consider, you have to look at the factors that will either hinder or promote your brand as an employee. Each employee is a brand on its own. And we look at the prowess, the ability, that is the ability to perform a certain function as a profession. Then you look at the way you groom yourself as an employee. Now that is now coming to an interview. When you present yourself to an interview, you presenting yourself as a potential candidate or to be employed or a potential candidate to bring down the company. Okay? Is it with the panel make a right decision to bring you on board, or will they make a right decision not to bring you on board?
Okay. You've mentioned the issue of recruitment process and all that and interviews. What will make some people, we are qualified, we have gone to school together, we have the same papers, and I end up being employable and my colleague is not employable. What do you look at and what makes some people more employable than the rest?
Perfect. Number one, we look at the skills or the experience you've amassed over the years. There are people who went together to school with, but they've never been employed anywhere, or perhaps they finished their college or their degree, they went and got any other job that is not in line with whatever they've studied. So it reduces the chances of being employed in a certain field. Number two, you look on a way somebody presents themselves in an interview, on how you defend your case, or on how you market yourself to the panel. Because that will really determine whether the panel will be interested to hear more about Timothy or will want just to conclude and to call the next person. But basically that is all.
So so it's majorly the skill, the experience, and how you present yourself.
How you present yourself.
Are there instances in your period of practice? Are there instances that some people used, as you said, marketing terms that they almost lied who they were, and in practical, field, they were not able to deliver?
Yeah, it has happened, and that's why I say that employability is just capability of being employed and also performing your work. Because, yes, because you can be employed, but again performing or sustaining that standard that you set during the interview. It could be a different case, or it could be a Greek language to you.
Yeah.
So there are many cases whereby you see somebody has really lied during the interview. When it reaches to the field, they're not able even to complete the probation period. An electrician will lie that they are skilled to fix some wires. When you bring them on board, they get electrocuted. Okay, so it happens, and now that's why we are talking about employability. Are you able to perform what you've been interviewed and what you promised?
Okay.
Yes, so that's why I usually tell people, please be very open and frank during the interview season.
Okay.
Do not over-promise or do not over-present yourself, and yet you are not able to match what you're presenting, because all the panelists will be noting down some notes, okay? And mark you that there are some things that you'll mention that will wow the panelists, and you're not able to deliver. Then they will just revisit those notes. Whenever you're not able to deliver whatever then it will raise integral issues.
Okay. So in short, when you're before that panel, you're giving your marking scheme, and now you'll be doing the exam when you're performing the duties.
Exactly.
I know you have sat in so many interviews, and you've interviewed so many people. 12 years of practice, more than 12 years of practice is not a joke. Tell us some of the common questions that we are likely to find during interview, and perhaps how to go about them.
Wow, perfect. The most employers will, the panelists will ask you, tell me about yourself. That will be the first question, most preferably. Now, that is not the time for you to say, hey, I'm married, I went to primary school. They definitely want to hear more of what you can give, what you're coming on board with. So talk about your academic background. You can briefly talk about your undergraduate or graduate education. Talk about the experience that you've amassed, and talk about the achievement that you've achieved over the years that you've been working. Let me give you a hypothetical example. When you talk about yourself as Wilson, I'll talk about Wilson Angatia, studied on this institution, and I attained this level of education, and I've managed to work in this and this institution, and in this institution, I managed to achieve this and this, and institution number 2, I achieved this and this, and apart from my work experience, I'm also a leader at our local church, I'm also a leader at our chama. It's something we call value addition.
Okay.
What addition will you be adding? What value will you be adding to the institution?
So, in a nutshell, it's like a moment for you to pitch.
Exactly.
Okay. How long should that take? Because some people will take forever to respond to that first question, and they feel like it's the end of the interview.
If the question is open, you can take even a maximum of 5 minutes.
Okay.
But let what you are telling people, let them want to hear more.
Okay.
But if you're too boring, they will tell you now that is okay. However, just try to squeeze or to condense your experience and whatever you'll be telling them to be 3 minutes. That will be enough.
Beautiful. That's the first question. Tell us about yourself.
Yes.
Any other general question that you're almost likely to find in any panel?
Perfect. They will ask you about your weakness. When they're asking you about your weakness, it's not a time for you now to demarket yourself.
Okay.
You might say a weakness that you battled with, and on how you've overcome, or on how you are working towards overcoming that weakness. Don't say that I'm lazy. That is, it can be a weakness,
even
but
if it's a reality.
Even if it's a reality, you're demarketing yourself. You're not promoting yourself. Talk about something that you've struggled with, or talk about, you can even say that talk about something that you've struggled with and on how you're overcoming that thing. Then they will also ask you about your strength. Your strengths, talk about something now that that beautifies or any value addition to your skills.
Okay.
Yes.
So suppose I'm asked about my weaknesses and I say that I tend to overwork to achieve my goals at expense of my own health. Is that demarketing or marketing?
It might. It depends with the institutions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is also something that you will not want to bring on board.
Yeah.
Because you might find a panel that will take that as an advantage to put everything on you.
Yeah.
And as an employee, you also need to check on your well-being.
In most instances and more so in most of the interview settings, you will realize that panelists are likely to ask you at the end of it all, do you have any question for us? How are you supposed to attack that?
Thank you. That is the most beautiful question.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you do not know what you want to ask, do not ask any question. It is not a compulsory question.
Okay.
And it might, if you don't ask any question, it will not limit the chances of you being employed.
Okay.
Let me give you an hypothetical example. If I'm the one being interviewed from a managerial position as a HR, and ask a question, do you have a strategic plan? And where are we with the strategic plan?
Good.
I'll ask another question, do you have policies? And I'll ask another question, what is the establishment count? What are the numbers in employment or the numbers of employees?
Okay.
So when you are asking a question, don't interview the panelists.
Don't give them a final punishment.
Exactly. Okay. Don't turn the interview that now you're the one who's interviewing the panelists, okay?